I do think Drax's motivation is the best because, again, it's not driven by money. It's not driven by fucking fish. It's not, so far everything has been those two things. It's either money or fish fucking. And when it comes down to it, Drax is right. That's the thing. That's what that rant I went on was like, bad guys where you can understand, where you can kind of take their side. Like most recently, it would be. I'm
having trouble taking his side, Charlie. I don't know what you're getting at.
Why?
Erasing all of humanity just does not seem like an answer to anything.
My point isn't that I want to see him succeed, like wiping the slate clean, straight up doing Noah's Ark, like straight up doing what God himself did, wiping away humanity so that it can rebuild with better stock. I'm not saying I agree with it. What I'm saying is that his motivation, you can at least understand it to where it's not just for money. It's not because he has money. The guy has more money than he could ever spend. His whole thing is bettering humanity. And in that regard, it's like, I can understand that. He thinks he's doing a good thing. And that's what I'm saying. When you have a good and evil plot, again, like the best case of the best story of good versus evil ever told is Lord of the Rings. The other side of that is Game of Thrones, where it's not good versus evil. It's people acting in their own interests. So it's like the Lannisters aren't evil. They're just a family looking after their own. In that same regard, the best stories beyond good and evil, I love good and evil, but then when you get past good and evil, you have this case of like, I can understand why somebody doing something bad, like you can say that what Drax is doing is evil, but at the same time, you can understand that there is a good in it. And again, I'm not saying I agree with it.
A new super race, a race of perfect physical specimens.
Whether you agree with it or not, it's significantly more interesting than just, oh, this guy wants money. Eugenics is actually a fabulous idea right up until you realize that you need to commit genocide in order to achieve it. So yes, it is this seductive evil, but for Drax, for a guy like him, it's this higher purpose. He legitimately believes he's saving the human race from itself by destroying the weak, as opposed to this other guy who just wanted to create Waterworld for some reason, and he had all these followers that followed him for some reason. You can believe that all these other people also believe that they're saving humanity by creating this super race, and obviously it's a bad thing, but, then you go walk around Walmart at 3 a.m. and you're like, oh, okay, I can see why this is such a seductive idea. You can interpret his actions as possibly being a good thing, but then it's evil, but then it's good, but then it's evil. And that's where it's interesting.
We agreed on that to a point in the last episode outside of the fish fucking, which you can't get out of your mind.
I mean, for me, it's like, I get the argument. I'm not saying I don't.
I do,
but again, going back to like looking at the whole movie as a whole, looking at Live and Let Die as a whole, and then looking at this movie as a whole, this movie's just so fucking bonkers that I feel like it just fits really well with Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah.
It is bonkers. It is a bonkers movie. I mean, even the fact that we had to go to space to have the climax of this movie, and the actual climax of the movie is Bond like trying to laser shoot these gas things.
Oh wait, you mean when he uses the Force and turns off his targeting computer?
Switched off your targeting computer. What's wrong?
Nothing. I'm all right.
You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home.
Use the Force, Bond.
We don't get a Force. And like, as much as I want to like, I think you lay out a great motive. Like, if we had a best of villains list, I think Drax would be at the top of that list for sure. But for the movie itself, I'm like, it does, like, most of the movie overall is just so like, it's like a Michael Bay movie, and the fact that it's just so much spoof, so much spoofage, so many just really does not give a shit product
But when I
placement.
think of Live and Let Die, though, I just think of meaningless chase scenes one after the other. And yes, it has, like I was laying out before, it has a talented bad guy, but not necessarily interesting in the same way as Drax, and he farts himself to death. And then it has Solitaire, which was, again, enough to put it above Diamonds Are Forever, but then Moonraker is The Spy Who Loved Me, but just with a bunch of extra crap that...
And I know, but you look at that crap, it's still in the movie.
Yeah.
I know. But what I'm saying, though, is that The Spy Who Loved Me has a pretty high position on the list. This is the same movie with all the bad stuff about it in terms of bad guy motivation completely fixed. And then, yeah, it's got like the double take, it's got the goofy stuff, but like Live and Let Die is just one assassination attempt after another and one chase scene after another. And that is somewhat what this movie is, but I can't help but think that it's been done
And here's the
better.
other thing, though, is that like when I thought of the chase scenes, even though I think the boat is a cool addition and being like, okay, well, last time we got a really cool car, let's give you a really cool boat this time, guys. Even though there was that, I thought the boat chase sequence, even though it was super long and extended in Live and Let Die, was a much better boat chase sequence overall. Like, I loved watching that sequence play out. I think most of the chase sequence in that movie, as much as I know you complain about this movie feels like chase sequence after chase sequence, I think they're really good. Whereas this movie, it's like we were trying to go for space movie, but we ended with, here's everything that you guys like in 1978, 1979.
The amount of of pointless movie references that does pull it down for me for sure.
I don't see the motivation for the henchmen in this one as much as you do. They know they're not part of his master, his super hot specimens. You brought this up the last time. You're like, what's the henchman's motivation to live in Waterworld? What's the henchman's motivation to live and die in space?
Hot chicks.
No, they
but
don't.
not everybody does. I think that's what Scott's trying to say.
But who are we
No, they don't. How do you know that?
But who are we talking about? We're talking about two people.
The henchmen.
We're talking about Jaws.
I'm not talking about
and
his
we're talking about
super
Jaws'
hot
girlfriend.
teenagers.
Charlie, I know what he's talking about. So, like, the fact
talking
that
about the gold-suited
you load
henchmen.
up all these... Okay, so they load up, 6 space shuttles of like, the best of humanity, right?
Yeah.
As far as looks and genes and all that. But...
They're the guys in the white
also
suits.
Scientists and other henchmen that are in that little area in Brazil. You've got people running around with guns, and they definitely don't look like the same people. So what he's trying to say is there's other people that aren't the hot ones that are getting by these hot girls from all around the world that are working for Drax Corporation.
Between the two plots, one of them involves the complete destruction of the planet. The complete destruction of the planet. The other one is killing off everybody on the planet and then repopulating with better genes. Now, I don't know, maybe there's a scene where it's like all of those guys have been chemically neutered or something, or maybe there's a deal that they won't be killed, but they just can't procreate. But either way, your life on the other side of this equation, you get to live on land and go back to some normalcy versus Waterworld where you just fuck fish, And between those two, whether or not, maybe Drax was planning on killing all those guys, but I've always seen it as those guys are part of the plan. The Italian chemists, who Bond second-handedly, absent-mindedly kills because the stupid-ass scientists developing a fucking poisonous gas aren't wearing fucking gas masks themselves. But anyway, beyond that, those guys clearly weren't going to be, they were just doing a job. I don't think they were aware of the whole plot of repopulating the Earth with a super race, but everybody on the space station is obviously aware of that plot. So obviously they're all just a bunch of idealistic scientists who think that they are recreating humanity for the better. So it really doesn't take a lot to put that together, as opposed to there being no advantage to living underwater, and why anybody would want to live underwater escapes me. That's just stupid, unless you're gonna fish in order to develop gills. But all the same, for a bunch of idealistic scientists, this makes sense.
The human race, as you know it, will cease to exist. Then a rebirth. a new world.
They think they're doing an ultimate good. They're making the ultimate sacrifice for humanity, even if that means sacrificing themselves by not procreating with the supermodels from around the world. Jaws is the one singled out as like, this guy is unaware. Because Jaws is a little thick, right? All he knows, he's just like, huh, what? Everybody else, though, I've always seen it as they're either involved or like, I don't care. Like, if Drax is planning on killing them, who cares? I mean, you can easily imagine that scene. Let's say Drax had succeeded in, his whole plan succeeds, and now all that's left is to go repopulate planet Earth. And he has all his scientists together, and he's like, yes, thank you for your sacrifice. Now I just need you to make one more sacrifice. And then he just gasses all of them so that all that's left is him and all the supermodels, essentially. Either way, you don't live in Waterworld. It's such a more convincing motivation than all those only men, just the men under Stromberg's control, are gonna fuck fish. There aren't any women. There's only Naomi, and that's it. Oh, wait, never mind, because she's fucking dead.